So now we're ready to transfer the image from the paper to the wood. Now the materials I have here are the image itself, the wood, and I've prepared the wood by sanding it. And this is the graphite image transfer paper. And you can use it many times. I'm going to take a piece of this blue tape, put it over the end of the paper here, and I'm going to line this paper up just as nice as I can. And I'm going to secure it down on the edge there, wrap it around. Okay, now the graphite paper goes with the dull black side down, like this, and put it up underneath this paper. I'd tape it down. But what I want to do is I want to show you what it's going to look like first. So I'm just going to come around here where this A is in Nicaragua, and I'm just going to trace around it. Now I'm using a red pen, and that makes it easier for me to see where I've actually traced it and where I have it. Now any roughness in the wood makes it all that much harder to transfer the image. So the smoother the wood is, the easier this goes. Alright, so there I've got the A outlined. And now if I take this off, you can see the A in the picture there. So that's what we're going to do for the entire surface. Now it's important that nothing shifts around and moves while you're doing this, because that would spoil your picture if it was like this and like that. So that's why I put the tape on this end. And now I'm going to take another piece of tape and put it on this other end so nothing moves. Very important that nothing moves. Okay, so now it's just a matter of going around every letter. And you don't have to bear down real hard. I do it too hard. And that does two things. One, it wears out my template, so I can't use it too many times. The other thing is it wears out my hand. So I just got to go around here. Now, if you are really good at freehand writing, which I'm not, what you could do is you could skip this whole template thing and you could draw your picture or your words, write your words on the wood with a pencil. Not a pen, but a pencil. And then you'd be able to move a lot faster than what I'm able to move. It's also a good idea when you make your template to use light colors, or colors that print out light. Alright, we're coming into the final section here. One last letter to do. And once we get this finished, then we can lift the paper up and see what it looks like. Alright, let's try it now. Peel the tape back. I'm going to take it off on one side in case I missed a spot, then I can lay it back down. Okay, my heart is in Nicaragua. Excellent. Okay, not a problem. You didn't miss anything. Just go ahead and take this off now. Now if I'm going to reuse this, I want to probably just cut that off and lay it aside to use it for later. And of course, my paper can be reused many times also. Alright, so now we get to the routing part. That's the fun part. For this particular project, we're going to use a straight bit. Now this is a larger straight bit, and as it whirls around in the router at 30,000 RPM, 30,000 turns every minute, these sharp carbide cutting edges take out a little teeny bit of wood. The sharper they are, the better it cuts, the smoother it cuts. This one is 3/8 of an inch wide, and that's too big for us because we can't get into all these little small spaces. But they come in all sizes. This is a 1/4 inch one right here. Same thing again. Now the one that we're actually going to be using is this little fellow right here. This is a 1/8 inch, and it we'll get into all those little small spaces that we need to get into. All right, before we get started, I'm going to show you the router that we're actually going to use, a rigid trim router. And it's an extremely nice router for this job because it's not very heavy, it's very lightweight. And I've made a couple of modifications to the router. The first thing that's obvious is this hose on the back. It goes to a shop vac, makes the shop very clean now. The other modification I made to it was this large clear plate on the bottom. So I can see what I'm doing underneath the work. But the reason it's so big, this is the plate that came with the router right here. Much smaller. You can see it's just tiny in comparison to this big plate. And the reason was that on some of my carvings, I'm cutting away very large areas. And with a little plate, I'd get over a spot and it would want to tip over this way. So now I need to put the bit in the router that I'm going to use and set the depth of the bit. So I'll go ahead and put that in there. Easy enough to do, just drop it in the hole there. And have two wrenches. One that holds the spindle of the motor and the other that grabs the big nut on top of the collet that holds the bit, and then I just tighten it down. Now, to set the depth of this is not very thick wood. So what I do is I release the latch right there, and then this has a very nice micro adjustment on the top. Now as I turn it, you can see the blade starting to come out further and further there. Now what I want to do is have it come out so it's about, say 1/3 to 1/2 the thickness of the wood. Lock it back down. Put my wood on here. And this pad right here is drawer liner pad right here. And when I put my wood on it, it makes it so that it's do my cutting without having to clamp everything as much. There'll be a lot of noise when I'm actually doing the cutting because of the vacuum and the router. Speaking of noise, you want to protect your hearing. Need to have a set of ear muffs, but the little ear plugs work just as well. And the other issue that you have to watch out for is eye protection. Now, every once in a while a router will throw chips out, and you don't want that to hit you in the eye. So at the very minimum you need to be wearing safety glasses. Now I don't typically wear safety glasses because I usually work behind this very nice lighted mirror. If you've never used one of these, you would not believe how nice it is to use, because it has a big magnifying glass and bunches and bunches of LED lights around it. What I'll do is I'll position it down, and then I'll be actually looking through the magnifying glass as I'm doing the carving. Good lighting is very, very important. So if you don't have good light, get a good light.